You've heard of heroic labs by now, and we keep talking about them because you need every edge to be successful in today's market. Heroic Labs game stack is built like a brick house. You got the Nakama, their backend game server, Hero, their game development framework, Satori, their live op service, and last but not least, Heroic Cloud to provide massive scalability. Heroic Labs is a battle-tested partner, and their tech enables you to be flexible, creative, and scale for success. Focus on your game, avoid tech risks, grow your product with scalable live ops, and save a big chunk of cheese, all with Heroic Labs.
Hey, it's Phil here from Deconstructor of Fun. I'm chatting today with Leo Yao, who is the GM of Timi's J3 studio. And if you're not familiar with Timi Group, and they, of course, were also the developer of Call of Duty Mobile, Pokemon Unite, and recently Age of Empires, they do not do a ton of interviews with Western media. So this was a real special treat. This was a great opportunity to learn more about what's happening in China's market and also to understand more about how China sees the Western market. Leo was a fantastic guest, and here's hoping to more knowledge sharing and information sharing to the East and the West. Without further ado, here's the episode.
Hi.
Leo, how are you?
Yeah, great. Great to see you.
Great to meet you. I hear you're a busy man. You're shipping a game soon. The baby is coming. The GM of Timmy's, is it the J3 studio?
So now it's called the big group of G3, but now it's divided into three studios, Y1, Y2, Y3, but I'd like to call it G3 studio. Yes, and we are just primarily focused on the shooter titles, in both development and publishing.
Okay, so it's not just the group of studios are working on Delta Force. They're working on other things too.
We focus on the shooter genre for 12 years. So firstly, it's a kind of PC game called Crossfire. Now it's still the top 5 PC FPS game in China now. It's a kind of a PvE game. Then in 2015, it's Crossfire Mobile. It's still dominant the mobile FPS market in China. Then it's Call of Duty Mobile.
We're going back to 2016, I think, when Call of Duty Mobile came out, probably in development even sooner than that. And I remember following a lot of the Activision attempts in China to do Call of Duty. Like there's this Call of Duty Play for Free, which was on PC.
Yeah, even on that.
Does the Call of Duty brand resonate in China even before Call of Duty Mobile? Was it something that people had known about and were familiar with?
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of the player in China play Call of Duty for sure. They know Call of Duty well, especially the famous Call of Duty 4 and 6, right? This is very famous because the campaign, because of the first 1-for-1, they're very famous in China. Everybody knows Price, Ghost, Soap. So it's very hard because in China, it's not very easy to make everyone play the premium game, right? To pay more bucks for the game. It's a famous brand. Not comparing to Crossfire, because Crossfire is definitely the number one PS IP in China. So it's someone in like big cities in Beijing, Shanghai. They are the very good family kids, or some of the cities, they like Call of Duty brand. So before Call of Duty Mobile is kind of that. But I think after Call of Duty Mobile, it's definitely a better job for Call of Duty brand in China, because it's free to play, it's mobile game, everybody can play. And before it is Call of Duty Online, but I still think Call of Duty brand is very well known in China, and Call of Duty Mobile, I think, doing a very good job.
Is that the idea? When you were developing the game, were you developing Call of Duty Mobile to succeed in both the East or the West, or did that just happen?
Yeah, I think that back to 2016, because Crossfire Mobile succeed, right, in China. And I think we saw the opportunities, right? So we proposed that idea Activision, and they like the idea. So at first, we only used 2 months doing the Nuketown demo. So it's a kind of multiplayer 5v5 Nuketown in mobile, and which shocked their executives. They think the game is already done because the multiplayer Call of Duty Mobile, we were only using 2 months. Then we just make the deal in 2016, I think. The final target is to make the Call of Duty, just make everybody can play Call of Duty in mobile. I think after 3 years, we just did that, right? Everybody can play, and it's a big hit in 2019, right? And in 2020, we get government approval, then we launch in China, and it's just also another big hit in China.
If we were to think back to the development of Call of Duty, one of the things that blew my mind is how it basically launched first-person shooters on mobile, particularly in China. Like controls, especially the dual stick, are more common. But what still surprises me is Call of Duty has succeeded in the West, when so many other first-person shooters have failed. I mean, even recently, right? Like nothing seems to stick in the West on mobile for first-person shooters. Besides, Call of Duty is the market. Do you have any theories on why that's the case?
I think actually Call of Duty is a very, very big brand in the West, right? You can see every year great marketing for this brand because every year they're gonna setting the new series, right? And that make Call of Duty still the top IP and brand globally, right? In the West. There's also a lot of the bonus to Call of Duty Mobile. That's one thing. And another is like in the West, they never seen like a mobile game can just doing such a great service because we just update every month for the new game modes, maps, characters, weapons. We're just doing a lot of the great game as service thing. Every year we do 11 to 12 big updates. That's a very huge effort, right? And so I think this is like the player can feel the top service, right? And we just listen to the community, fix all of the bugs very quickly. So we talk to the player, talk to the community. I think that's something new, right? Beyond the community's expectations. I think that's the key.
It sounds like you have this huge operation on even just Call of Duty Mobile, and my God, 10 to 11 updates. Man, I can't tell you how many producers in the West would be scared, just the thought of that.
Yeah.
How many people do you even have on a game like that?
For Call of Duty, like it's no more than 200 people in development and live ops teams, but we have a lot of the outsourcing teams there because like the whole content is huge, right? I mean, like a lot of the new maps, game modes, but the core teams, no more than 200 people, they are doing all of the game modes, maps, functions, and all of the art resources, we outsource this in some of the companies in China.
We know so little over here in the West about Timmy. It's called Timmy Studio Group. What is the group?
The Timmy group have more than 10 studios globally. So in China, we have studios across Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Chengdu, right? Globally, we have Montreal, we have Singapore, and also Seattle. So this is a big studio group. Every studios have their like genre in strengths. Like G3, we are very in shooters, right? And Honor Kings, right? They are just very strong mobile. And also lately, the Age of Empire mobile release as a T1 studio
downloads
in Shanghai. Yeah, they are very strong in SRG. And we have a studio very strong at racings, right? Need for Speed Mobile, QQ Speed. So every studio have their kind of establishment of kind of their own genre.
So if we think about a game like Honor of Kings versus Call of Duty, both wildly successful. When I looked at Sensor Tower, 13 billion for Honor of Kings. And of course, that's Sensor Tower data. So that doesn't include a lot of the app stores in China. There's a million different things it doesn't include, which is mind boggling. They had Call of Duty at 2 billion. So like insane scale. Does the headcount differ for those two games? Well, you said 200 for Call of Duty Mobile. That's a pretty big team. Does Honor of Kings just have a whole army dedicated to it?
Yeah, definitely Honor of King have a lot of more resources than us because they have a much larger DU. They have a lot of other things like esports and a lot of other stuff inside or outside the game. So definitely they need a lot of the more resources.
So if we think about the 200 headcount that's on Call of Duty, how is that organized? You said outsourcing, you've got art. Traditionally, like in the West, we have a live ops team structure. We have these product manager titles. We have an analyst. There might be a designer. Should we think about the structure of a team like Call of Duty in a similar way, or are the roles different from your experience?
In the dev team, so they are basically divided to the dev team and the publishing team, right? For the development team, they are like the designers, level designers, system designers, and the client engineer, server engineer, and artists, including the concept, 3D animation, VFX. So basically, the development team consists maybe 80% of the whole, and they are the publishing team, right? The publishing team, including some of the data analysis, player insights, monetization and engagement, creative marketing, and also we have the production team, like producers for development and publishing. So yeah, it's kind of similar to the West, I think.
And you yourself have been at Timmy for quite a while, right?
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit, having been there so long, we talk about company culture. This has been a hot topic recently. What have you found about employees who are successful in Timmy? What qualities do you think they embody? The people who move up the ranks, the people who stick around for a long time.
The passion, I think, is definitely in the first, and the curiosity, I think this is very important. Another is humble. I think this is very common in Chinese culture. If you're doing a long-term live of game, like game as service, right? If you want to make a service to the community, to the player, you have to be very humble. I think that's kind of our culture here, not too much of the self. That's very, very important.
So now that you have operations in the West, you have studios all over North America, has there been a learning process at all, integrating those studios into Timmy?
For the Call of Duty Mobile, the operations in the US is not my team, right? We have some of the development team in Montreal and Seattle, but that's not in my studio. So for Call of Duty Mobile, I think something we learned from the West, they just really take it very seriously with Call of Duty IP and branding. And this is something we learned, right? So if you're doing IP, you have to give enough respect to the IP. This is something. I think for the East, like just iterate faster. I think that's maybe different from East and West or something. I think this is still the key if you run in the very long-term service game. If like you just cause some of the bugs from the community. In China, we have to fix a bug today. So no more than maybe 24 hours. If you catch a bug, catch a hacker or something, like you have to fix it in no more than 24 hours. And we have a lot of people communicating with community influencers all the day because we saw a lot of the games in the West. We can't doing that fast, right?
When we think about first-person shooters broadly, we've been following a lot of what you might call like just these high-budget kind of Chinese shooters on mobile. PUBG Mobile, obviously like enormous, really high content volume, as we were talking about earlier. On Dawn, we were following a little bit of that one, with the Will Smith tie-in. Arena Breakout. Is there really demand for these mobile first-person shooters in China? Like, are you seeing growth in the mobile first-person shooter market to justify like all these different titles competing for players? And you've got another one coming too, right? You've got Delta Force coming, which we'll talk about later.
Unfortunately, for the only mobile shooters for the last kind of 8 years, right? From Free Fire first and PUBG Mobile, then Call of Duty Mobile. That's only happened in 2017 to 2019. That's only 2 years, right? Sadly, that's only the Windows. So all of the mobile FPS or TPS game, you can see now still this three dominant all of the mobile FPS or TPS game. So after 2019, I think because these three games has too successful and they has their own communities, huge community, right? Every game, Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, and Call of Duty, they have their own in different territories, right? Kind of Free Fire very strength in North America, right? PUBG Mobile strength in MENA, and Call of Duty Mobile strength in the USA, right? But I think after 2020s, there's not single mobile FPS game had a very big success globally. But Delta Force is another thing because we're doing the PC first, right? So for the mobile, maybe from my perspective, I think it's because there's three games, Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, and Call of Duty Mobile. They almost can satisfy all of the mobile shooters globally.
Is there any reason you don't think we see more mobile games just ported to PC on Steam? Why can't we take these mobile games and put them on PC? Is there anything preventing that? Or you think it's a mismark in terms of market? You could put Call of Duty Mobile on Switch. You could put it on PC. I would love to play Call of Duty Mobile on PC. Like, to your point, I mean, in China, you're producing content so much faster. The live services are so much more engaging compared to Black Ops 6, which I love, but the content volume is still just so different.
And I think that's kind of the thing I just want to talk about. So I think in the West, all of the big titles, basic logic, it's still annual premium, right? I think that's the key because that's the thing have running for 20 years, right? So FIFA, Call of Duty, Battlefield, right? So it's not basic free-to-play game as service logic, right? So because that logic have running so long, so I think it's very hard. But you can see Call of Duty have made a try for Warzone, right? And it's also a big success, right? And Call of Duty Mobile, I think for mobile porting to PC, the quality is still a problem because like the PC gamer, they still require a very high production value game, right? And not exactly AAA, but at least Call of Duty Mobile, if you port into PC, is not very low end for sure, but it's not meet the requirements of the basic PC gamers. So I think the logic is not that we're porting so many of the mobile game to PC. It's like we make the cross-platform thing. This is why we think Dirtful is going to make a big success because you have to satisfy the requirements of the PC gamer first. Then at the same time, you do the cross progression and you have, at the same time, you have the mobile. So when they're at home, they play on PC and console, or when they play maybe not at home, they can play in mobile. I think cross-platform is still the key for Dirtforce, and we also think that's something like should be the trendings for the game industry.
Do you expect players that are playing on mobile and playing on PC or console to play in a single game together?
No, in Dirtforce, we don't allow that because that's, I think, for the cross-play, right? And even not that easy cross PC and console, right? The joystick and keyboard mouse is another problems for long days, right? It's not even about the mobile and PC. It's not fair. So you just can't make them cross-play, but you can make them cross-progression. So if you're a PvE game, maybe he hold the mobile, you hold the PC. PvE is doable, but for PvP, it definitely not work.
Do you expect players to be playing on PC and then when they're out on the go, they're going to be playing Delta Force on mobile?
We expect in different scenario, people playing different devices. That's something we hold them to do because in Dirtforce, we have extraction, right? For the whole extraction genre is something about the economies, right? Something about their inventory. There is a scenario that when player using their mobile to setting their things or just to make their inventory better or something. Then when they back home, they play on their PC to play the match. So I think that's the kind of scenario we want.
If we were just to zoom out and go back to the Chinese PC shooter market,
Sure.
all I understand as a dummy is Crossfire. I understand Crossfire.
Okay.
Huge fucking success forever. We can't get a version of it here in the West. We haven't had the opportunity. I know Valorant pops up here and there on some charts. Overwatch sometimes pops up. What's going on in the PC Chinese shooter market?
So for 10 years ago, when mobile games aren't that popular in China, PC game dominant, right? Crossfire is the first one. Yeah, at that time there are Counter-Strike, but of the QQ and Crossfire just such became a very big hit in Chinese market. So it's dominant the whole genre for like almost 15 years, right? In 2015, then mobile game come, right? Everybody play mobile game. Honor of King, Crossfire Mobile. So that's everybody play the mobile game. But at the same time, PC game not dying. They are still very strong. But we see some of the trendings that in the last 1 or 2 years, they back to the PC because still PC have the better experience, the better graphics, right? So when some of the kids, they grown up, when in their childhood, they play the mobile game. But when they just graduate and they have their jobs, they have their own PCs, they find that the PC game has better experience and better graphics. So you can see in China why we make Dirt 4 PC first, because we saw the whole trending of the PC game. So in the year, we have the Blacklist, right? So have the Japanese Wukong, you have the Dirt 4. Now, Valorant, Crossfire, and Dirt 4 in FPS genre is still very top in China.
This podcast is brought to you by AppsFlyer. In today's digital world, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download is more than just insightful, it's essential. Enter AppsFlyer, the leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics that allows you to measure the full potential of your marketing efforts, making every ad dollar work smarter. With AppsFlyer, that's your new reality. Dive deep into data-driven insights that reveal exactly where your users come from and how they'll interact with your app. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance.
Step into the future of game monetization with Xsolla, the premier partner for game developers seeking to expand their reach and revenue. Xsolla provides a robust suite of tools designed to enhance user acquisition, manage subscriptions, and streamline payment solutions worldwide. Unlock new markets and maximize profitability through their customized, secure payment architecture and dedicated support team. Xsolla, powering game developers to achieve global success.
And you had mentioned when you are doing the PC and you're doing the mobile version that you want to start with PC. Why not start with mobile? Why is it easier to go from PC to mobile than the inverse?
Yeah, it's a very fun story. So the game at first is like a mobile first. Last year, we went to Gamescom, right? So we talked to so many of the media and so many of the developers, right? And we found that none of them has really taken it seriously with the mobile game. Talk to them, hey, I'm the executive producer of the Call of Duty Mobile, and you can find that as a developer, they don't think that's very, I don't know. We can't say that we're not successful. We are successful. But game industry, PC and console still is like a top, right? So at that time, I felt that we have to be PC first. We have the real opportunity to be success, not only in China, but also in the West. It means that last August, we decided to do the PC first. So we only use 5 to 6 months and to do the PC first. Then for the March 2024, we have the PC test in China, and it has a huge success.
The PC test in China as well.
Yeah, I mean that because we have already launched in China, right? Or this September the 26th, but it has the alpha test and beta test. So alpha test began 6 or 7 months ago. It means we only make the decisions August in Gamescom. Then we made 5 to 6 months, make a PC first, then test in China.
Is it built in Unity or Unreal or like a different engine?
In Unreal 4, because the Unreal 4 is very suitable for cross-platform. So Unreal 5, it's great, but it's not that very adaptive. Yeah.
And you're operating in this large, I call it almost like large scale first person shooter market. So you've got Battlefield, which has dominated, or at least some ways you can argue created the large scale first person shooter market. You've seen Hell Let Loose. That's been pretty interesting. Enlisted is a game that I personally follow a lot.
Sure.
How do we fit Delta Force into that landscape?
Yeah, I think the fit is still like that make high production value kind of Battlefield genre game, free to play for everybody can play, and which every month full of the content updated, anti-hack. I think that's the thing. That's all the thing. They make free to play, high frequency update content, and very good anti-hack Battlefield genre game. So I think that's a lot of the players they want, right?
I can tell you, as someone who worked on Battlefield, that was the number one complaint we'd get over and over again, is that it's really cheaters. That was something that really has been troubling that game for a really long time. And it's hard to know, okay, is this just a couple people complaining or is this a real deal? But it's a comment that has surfaced over and over again. Super, super interesting. Should we expect content updates to Delta Force that are similar to Call of Duty Mobile?
Yeah, I think that's even more because you just expect that every 1 or 2 months is, I don't know, 1 or 2 maps. So you can see in the last 2 or 3 months, we have already updated 2 of the new maps, Battlefield General Mode, right? And I think we can just expect every 2 months a new map, operators, a lot of the weapons, a lot of the vehicles. Let's just keep updating. And we talked to many of the West developers, then they are all shocked because our speed is so fast. We have 400 people teams for the dev team. So half them for the extraction shooter, half them the large scale. And yeah, I think that's the key. And also the anti-hack is a top priority because I think we have the top technology, the anti-hack. And if we got the hackers, their PCs are blocked for 10 years. They just can't play for 10 years. And if either they change their PC, otherwise they just can't play for 10 years. So I think that's the key. That's not complicated. It's very simple. It's doing the good service, doing the good quality of life to the gamers.
So when we think about that live service, one of the conversations we were having, we actually just had a panel about shooters recently because there's been a lot of failures, particularly in the West recently, things that haven't really taken off. We've seen the finals, X-Defiant, a million extraction shooters at least really struggle to gain a foothold in the West. When we think about that live service you were talking about, I'm sure one component of the live service is just shipping a lot of content, shipping a lot of widgets. Should we think about live service as more than just shipping widgets or shipping content? Is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I think it's not only about the content's quantity. It's still about the content quality for sure. And also is whether you want to listen to the community. That's very important. So if you see Delta Force official in YouTube or we just talk to the community very humbly and we just listen to their ideas and we just fix them very quickly. So as I talked before, I think it's still like the balance of the something we want to do or something player want, right? I think some of the developer in the West, they are still want to find that balance, that something we want to do or something player want, right? But for Chinese developers or something, we may take more seriously of what player want. So you can see our designers, they talk to the influencers, they talk to a player, they just view every community like Reddit, Discord, YouTube all the day. They work in their daytime, then just after work, they review all of these channels and talk to them one by one. I think that is the key because only the core players, they know what is good for your game, right? And what is bad for it. And you have to listen to their voices. I still think that the content quality is more important than content quantity, right? It's like you update so many of the microtransaction or a lot of the content that's not mean a lot. But like something, maybe player complain your gun control, a player complain your balance, or you have to just fix it very quickly. And also for anti-hack, I think you can see a lot of the free-to-play game that's die on the hackers. So that needs a lot of the technology. So
when we think about the West when it comes to monetization, as someone who worked on Battlefield, I can tell you how many players would complain about monetization no matter what it was. If something's more than $3, it triggers a complaint. $3 USD. How can we think about monetization in Delta Force and balancing that, particularly for a game that looks like it's going to have strong cross-region appeal? It seems like there are different norms for monetization in the East and the West, although I don't know, Call of Duty Mobile seems to be doing pretty well, but on PC at least, there seems to be different norms.
Yeah, I think the firstly is not pay to win, right? This is definitely not pay to win. This is very important. Then I think the price is very, very important. But if you see Call of Duty, you see Valorant, and also the price is very high, right? And especially Valorant, because this package has the luxury, right? It's not the quality have to be very high, that it have to be very unique, right? Yeah, I think we have very confident because we have doing 5 years of Call of Duty Mobile, right? Just Call of Duty mainline, and we would learn from each other. We learn from them, and they get to learn from us. So we just really know that, and also we do some of the IP collaboration, right? So the thing is not pay to win and doing some of the unique. I think quality have to be matched with their price. And also in Delta Force, we doing a lot of things that if you're doing a lot of the engagement in the extraction shooter, you get the Mandor break, right? In the Battlefield genre, you just also get that. And you can sell them the free currency, can buy everything. So it means you don't have to be paid through the lot of engagement. You can get all of the things. So I think that's the key.
So we think about, you've got this large scale mode. You said half the team is on it, 200 head count. You also have this extraction shooter mode. And we've been following a lot about extraction shooters over here in the West. We've been taking a look at like Escape from Tarkov, which has been forever. The Cycle. I don't know if you remember that one. That was a pivot. Yeah. It was a PV. There was the Cycle. There was Call of Duty. Call of Duty took a shot. Mainland Call of Duty franchise.
Yeah, DMZ.
Off the Grid. I don't know if you've been following that one. That's been interesting. None of these games have stuck. None of them have stuck. I think in China, there might be more success with some of the mobile extraction shooters. Just tell me if I'm wrong there. But why is this genre not taking off? It seems like there's been so much capital investment in a genre that's had so little return.
Yeah, that's a very good question. We saw that have some of the problems. If you see in YouTube, because there are more and more extraction game come, right? And some are just Tarkov-like, some are Darker even more, right? You can see more. You can see the top reviews is always be not extraction again, right? So why the extraction shooters after the Tarkov is not another big hit? It's because, so Tarkov is very special, right? It's very hardcore, high pressures, right? It has very unique experience, right? And I think everybody want to do not that hardcore, right? Doing some of thing of arcade, something tactics, the very, very high challenge, the top challenge when we doing the extraction in Delta Force is still that audience in the West, they just can't find their target in extraction. So because all of the FPS genre in the last 20 or 30 years is about win or lose, right? It's about whether you kill someone, you win, or you die. A lot of times you lose, right? For the extractions, they are not a standard of win or lose. The thing is about you just cannot kill someone. Then you can just extraction, get a lot of the coins, right? And we found a lot of the players, they feel very confused. They find that in the match, the target is very confusing for a lot of the FPS genre players. So some of the games, the vibe is not right. Every game doing that, right? Every game have the same UI UX, right? Everybody have an inventory, have loot system, have something like that. So it make the community more confused about it. At Delta Force, we're just trying to solve that problems, right? Since our thought is like, firstly, we don't want to do hardcore because if hardcore, no one can pair Tarkov. We want to do more tactics, maybe some of the tactics between arcade and hardcore. This is something we confirm first. Gameplay have to be like if you kill someone, kill the bots or kill the enemy, that's very arcade, or you just kind of a lot of fun when you kill the boss, when you kill the other enemy. Then when you play a lot of the match, someone can find the fun of the economy. Someone can find the fun of the tactics. Then just two different group of players, right? They can choose their own. Someone can, their target is to get more coins. It's someone to like make it like a more like a battle royale, right? Kill more of the other teams. And we have the operators, right? This is very good because it can highlight their moments of the battles. That's very, very important. So yeah, I think it's a very hard question because we still don't know whether Delta Force extraction is going to be another success because the key is still like the thing I talked to you before is about the goal, the target. So how to make the Western audience find their target in the game is very interesting. In China, extraction is very popular.
This is what I just can't get over is because it's mostly mobile extraction shooters too, from my understanding. What's resonating? Is it accessibility? Is it just because in the East, like the controls are always more sophisticated? It's boggling my mind. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah. I think something in my mind is like, firstly, Western audience educated by arcade FPS genre for decades, right? Call of Duty, Battlefield, right? So they like very arcade. They like instant feedback, right? Kill, you win. You run, you just slash. That's all of the things like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield, all of the things. In the main FPS audience in the West, it's about instant feedback. But in China, for the last decades, the most two successful genre or FPS games, one is Counter-Strike or Crossfire. Another is PUBG, right? This is not that arcade, it's more tactics, right? So extraction is combined with tactics and hardcore, which can match Chinese FPS genre audience habits. So it's like low pace, some of the more tactics, right? You just can see someone wait and shoot and get loot. So this is something more like Counter-Strike, Battle Royale, and Extraction. This is kind of the right sequence, right? But for the West audience, it's Call of Duty, Battlefield. And we saw Call of Duty, they try to solve the thing in DMZ, and it's doing a very good job. Yeah, but the thing we ask ourselves many times, because when Dirtleforce was advertised in the West, more and more people play the large scale, and less player play Extraction, and they feel very confused when they enter the game. So we're trying to fix that, because for the long term, the tactics games have a very, very good long-term retention, right? Counter-Strike, Valorant, PUBG, they are the kind of evergreen for decades, right? But for all of the arcade games, you have to buy another every year to refresh their experience, right?
This is a fucking great theory. I think this actually makes a lot of sense because I was raised exactly as you mentioned. I was raised on those franchises. I wasn't raised on CSGO. The PC market was its own thing. Console was its own thing. Now they've become much more merged. But I think a lot of people, to your point, like I grew up on Call of Duty. I run Call of Duty on console. Extraction shooter is a weird thing for me to have that little tactical gameplay. And I don't play CSGO and I don't play Valorant. I play them because I'm in the games industry. But why Delta Force this IP? It's been around forever. It's been around for centuries. No one has touched it in a really long time. It hasn't had a really modern incarnation. I forget how long it's been since the last title shipped. Why did Timmy decide to pick up this IP for this title? I mean, you could put another skin on it, but why Delta Force?
Firstly, it's like the first large-scale Battlefield genre game, right? Even before Battlefield. So this is one thing. Another is, for me, that IP that everybody know, but has not have a new series for decades, I think is very perfect for our expectations, right? And it just fit all of the vibes, fit all of the IP spirits, right? I think if we do a modern IP or we do a very big IP, which is still very popular and doing their games every year, which also can give us a lot of the limitations, right? And that's another thing, right? Third of all, I think we just really love that IP because that for 20 or 25 years ago or something, like in Chinese net cafe, they're very, very popular. That's still one thing because the producers and core teams for Dirtleforce, they love the IP. That's the first thing. We do not want a lot of the limitations, and we just want to have our freedom to do the IP, and it's the first large-scale Battlefield genre. Yeah, I think there's a lot of the reasons, but for now, I think this is very good to doing the Dirtleforce. And we also have the Black Hawk Down, right? This is very classic campaign in Dirtleforce series. For the Dirtleforce open beta in December the 5th, we just hope everybody can join that. Everybody can enjoy. So yeah, great talking to you. It's still a lot of the insights. Yeah.
As a former DICE employee, I will say this, your timing couldn't be better. I know as much as I love Battlefield, it's weak right now. There's been missteps, and you guys could go for the pincer move. Let's see if Battlefield can survive this. But I'm excited to play.
Yeah, thank you. It's also the communicating just very delight me. Yeah, so thank you.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. As a fan of the show, it would help us out if you subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. More importantly, are you a member of the Deconstructor of Fun Slack group? If you have 5 years or more of games industry experience, go to deconstructoroffun.com/Slack and apply to join. Join the games industry's best professional community filled with peers always willing to lend a hand. Or subscribe to our newsletter to get all the latest insights from the Deconstructor of Fun content creators. Thanks for listening.